to Deep Sleep Stories. Thank you to everyone who's been listening. If these stories help you relax or fall asleep, a short review, comment, or sharing the podcast with someone who might benefit is a simple and meaningful way to support the show so that we may continue to offer it for free. Now, take a slow, gentle breath and let's begin tonight's story.
Welcome to Deep Sleep Stories, a place where your mind can rest and your body can soften into the quiet of the night as you drift into a dream of slow dancing in a winter garden. As you settle in, make yourself as comfortable as you can. Let your shoulders sink down. Let your jaw unclench. Let your hands rest loosely by your sides or gently on your body. Take a slow breath in through your nose, feeling the air cool and calm as it moves into your chest. Hold it lightly for a moment, then let it go, slowly, softly, as if you are exhaling the day. This evening, your story will take you into a quiet winter garden where lanterns glow, snowflakes drift like small, silent melodies, and two figures move together in a slow, gentle dance beneath the bare branches and silver sky. For now, imagine the space around you softening. The walls, the ceiling, the bed or couch holding you up. They all grow quieter, more distant. As your attention turns inward, feel the weight of your body resting where you are. Notice the gentle pull of gravity. You do not need to hold yourself up anymore. The ground, the mattress, the pillows, they are doing that for you. Breathe in again slowly. Imagine you are inhaling calm winter air, clear and crisp and still. When you breathe out, imagine the air carrying away any leftover thoughts, worries, or noise. You do not need to solve anything right now. You do not need to remember anything or plan anything. This time is only for rest, for softness, for quiet. If you like, you can imagine yourself standing just outside a garden gate on a winter night, bundled in soft, warm clothing, your breath faint in the air. The story you are about to hear begins just beyond that gate, where a winter garden waits, covered in falling snow and the faint glow of lantern light. When you are ready, let your mind step gently through that gate, and the story will begin. In the heart of a quiet town, far from the busy roads and bright windows, there was an old walled garden that belonged to a house of pale stone and dark wooden beams. The house was simple, with a steep roof and a few softly lit windows. But behind it lay a hidden world, the winter garden. In summer, the garden was a tangle of green leaves and roses, of climbing ivy and wild herbs that spilled over stone paths. But now in winter, it was a silver and blue dream. Snow lay in gentle layers over the flower beds and hedges, rounding off every edge. The branches of the trees were bare and delicate, traced against the sky like ink on pale paper. Along the path, someone had hung lanterns, They stood at even intervals on tall hooks of black iron, each one holding a small candle. The flames inside did not flicker wildly. They burned with a steady, quiet glow, casting halos of warm golden light onto the snow at their feet. The air in the garden was cold, but not harsh. It was that gentle kind of winter cold that invites you to breathe deeply, to feel the freshness of it fill your chest and clear your mind. From time to time, a breeze passed through the branches, lifting a thin veil of snow from a bough and letting it fall in a shimmer of drifting white. Tonight, the garden was not empty. At its center, beneath a small iron arch entwined with sleeping rose vines, stood two figures. A woman wrapped in a long woolen coat in a muted shade of blue, with a scarf wrapped around her neck and her hair gathered gently at the nape of her neck. And opposite her, a man wearing a dark coat and gloves, his breath warm against the crisp air, his eyes soft and luminous in the lantern light. Their names were Ilara and Jonas, and this winter garden was their secret place. Years ago, when the house was new to them and the garden choked with wild growth, they had made a quiet promise to each other. No matter how the seasons changed, no matter how noisy or complicated the world beyond the garden walls became, they would keep one night in the winter for themselves. One night to step into the cold and find the warmth that needed no fire. One night to slow dance beneath the bare branches and the falling snow. This was that night. The snow had begun earlier in the evening in small scattered flakes that seemed almost uncertain, but as the hours passed, the sky had grown more confident, sending down a steady, gentle curtain of white. By the time they stepped outside, the world was hushed. The roads were quiet. The garden path was softened. The lanterns flickered to life with the faintest touch of a match, and the winter night opened its arms. Jonas held a small music box in his gloved hand, and it was an old thing, with a metal key on one side and a curved lid decorated with tiny faded flowers. The box had a habit of sighing slightly when opened, as if it remembered other winters, other nights, other dances. He turned the key slowly, feeling the soft resistance of the mechanism, the gentle tension building inside. When he opened the lid, the melody began, thin at first, tinkling and delicate, but then filling the air with a slow, lilting waltz that seemed to float up toward the sky and then drift back down like snow. Ilara smiled, her breath turning to mist in front of her. There was a softness in her eyes, something like gratitude, something like peace. She moved a little closer, snow crunching softly beneath her boots. "Shall we?" Jonas asked, his voice barely more than a whisper, as if to speak too loudly might disturb the spell of the night. She nodded, slipping her hand into his. His hand was warm, even through the glove, solid and familiar, and the moment their fingers curled together, the world outside their garden might as well have been on another planet. They stepped closer to the center of the clearing, where the lantern light pooled around them like a warm, golden circle in the snow. Above their heads, the bare branches of the old maple tree stretched wide, its limbs etched with frost, delicate and faintly shimmering. Jonas placed one hand gently at Alara's back, and she rested her other hand on his shoulder. There was nothing hurried, nothing sharp in their movements. They began to sway, at first only a little, listening for the rhythm of the music box, letting their bodies remember the slow patterns they had danced so many times before. The melody was simple, a wistful pattern of notes that rose and fell like a calm tide. It spoke of quiet evenings and held hands, of flickering candlelight and soft armchairs, of the gentle passing of years. It filled the small space between them, wrapping them in a music that felt like home. They turned slowly in the snow, their steps small and easy. Their boots left faint arcs and ovals in the white, the pattern of a dance written softly across the garden floor. Snowflakes drifted down around them like silent, glowing confetti, catching the lantern light as they fell. As they moved, the world narrowed to the steady pressure of their hands, the slow movement of their feet, the warmth of their breath. The cold air on their cheeks only made the warmth between them feel more vivid, more alive. The winter garden watched them in quiet contentment. The hedges, wrapped in snow, stood like patient guardians. The stone bench by the wall held a small, untouched cushion of white. The sleeping rose bushes, bare now, dreamed of warmer seasons while offering their slender, graceful stems as a frame for the scene. High above, between the lacework of branches, the sky was the deep blue of late evening, touched with silver, where the stars began to show. A pale moon rested there, thin and patient, casting a faint sheen over the snow. The night itself seemed to sway with them. Every so often, Jonas leaned in closer, letting his forehead rest lightly against Alara's for a moment. No words were needed. The years they had shared lived in these small gestures, in the ease with which they moved together. In the calm their presence brought each other. Once, a puff of wind swept gently through the garden, lifting a swirl of snow into the air around them. For a moment, they were surrounded by sparkling white. Alara let out a soft, surprised laugh, the sound bright and tender. Jonas smiled, his eyes crinkling at the corners. The music box played on. They did not think about time. They did not think about the next day or the previous one. Here in the winter garden, there was only this moment, this slow, turning dance, this quiet garden, this winter sky. Inside the house, in the kitchen, a teapot waited on the stove, already filled with water. A small jar of loose-leaf tea sat beside it, ready to steep. 2 mugs waited on the table, side by side, their glazed surfaces catching the low lamplight. Warmth waited for them there, steam, and the gentle taste of herbs. But there was no hurry. The garden came first. Alara let her eyes drift slowly across the lanterns as she turned. Each of them burned in silent devotion, flames steady and clear. The snow that had accumulated on their metal lids looked like tiny caps of sugar. The light they cast was soft and rounded, with no harsh edges, just a warm glow that brushed the world with gold. As they danced, memories rose gently in the back of their minds, not in sharp flashes, but in soft, glowing echoes. They remembered the first winter they had done this, when the garden was still wild and partly overgrown, and the snow had been knee-deep in places. They had stumbled more than danced that night, laughing at their own awkwardness. Their cheeks flushed from both cold and delight. They remembered winters when life had been busy and heavy, full of worries and responsibilities and long days. Even then, they had come out to the garden, sometimes only for a few minutes, to let the music box play and sway together beneath the stars, trading burdens for a little while, for silence and closeness. They remembered winters when the snow had refused to come, leaving the garden bare and dim, yet still they had lit the lanterns and stepped outside. They had danced on hard, frosted ground, with dry leaves whispering underfoot. And even then, the garden had felt like a sanctuary. Tonight, the snow had come in full, soft abundance, as though the sky had decided to honor their ritual. The world was wrapped in quiet. As they turned, a small fox stood at the far edge of the garden path, halfway hidden behind a hedge. It watched them with calm, curious eyes. Its fur was a rich, warm color beneath a dusting of snow. Perhaps it had wandered close, drawn by the distant sound of the music box, by the faint glow of the lanterns. For a long moment the fox was still, only its ears flicking from time to time at some distant sound. Then it lowered its head as though in a silent bow and padded away into the sleeping hedges, leaving behind a winding line of paw prints that would soften as more snow fell. The music box melody wound on, turning slowly through its familiar pattern. There was a faint whir beneath the notes, the mechanical heart of it ticking and turning. Every so often Jonas would reach out with one hand to wind the key again, careful not to break the rhythm of their dance. The sound of the key turning became part of the story of the night, a quiet reminder that even magic needs a little help to continue. Alara's eyes grew softer, her body relaxing more fully into the slow, steady movement. The days leading up to tonight had been long and full. There had been letters to answer, calls to make, small tasks that seemed never to end. But here, under the bare branches and the falling snow, those tasks felt distant, like faint echoes from another world. With each step, something loosened inside her, an old worry released, a lingering tension eased. She did not try to name these feelings, she only let the motion carry them away. Jonas felt it too, the slow unraveling of tight knots, the way the cold air brushed the last remnants of the day from his thoughts, leaving behind a soft, clear space. He listened to the sound of the snow under their feet, the distant hush of the town beyond the walls. They were not far from other people, from lights and voices and lives. But in this garden they were held within a circle of quiet. The winter night deepened. The stars grew brighter. The lantern shone steady. Time in the garden did not move the way it did elsewhere. It did not rush. It did not pull. It simply drifted like the snow. After some time, their steps grew even slower. They were still moving together, but now the dance had softened into something even more gentle. A quiet swaying, a barely there turning. The music box, too, seemed to hum more softly, as though wrapping its melody in a thicker blanket of snow. Layla leaned her head against Jonas's shoulder. The wool of his coat was warm, faintly scented with winter air. Her eyes closed. She could feel the steady rhythm of his breathing, the slow rise and fall of his chest. Jonas rested his cheek lightly against her hair, feeling the simple, profound comfort of her nearness. The garden around them faded further, its lines blurring at the edges, becoming more like a dream than a place. The world might have been made of lantern light and snow and quiet breath. Eventually, the music box reached the end of its winding. The melody slowed, a few last notes ringing out into the night, and then it stopped, leaving behind a soft, ringing silence that was somehow even gentler than the sound had been. They did not move right away. The absence of music did not break the spell. Instead, it deepened it. They continued to sway together, now guided only by the rhythm of their own breathing and the echoes of the tune still humming in their minds. The garden seemed to lean in closer, listening. Far away, a church bell chimed the hour, its sound faint and low, softened by the snow and distance. The tone hung in the air and then melted away, leaving the night undisturbed. Finally, with a breath that felt as soft as the falling snow, Jonas drew back just enough to look at Alara's face. Her eyes opened slowly, meeting his. There was no need for long conversation. A small, quiet smile passed between them, a smile that said, "This is enough, this is everything, this moment will stay." He closed the music box with a gentle click and slipped it back into his pocket, where its silence seemed as full and meaningful as its song. They stood for a while longer in the lantern light, just breathing, just being. No rush, no demands, just the winter garden and the softness of the night. When their fingers finally loosened, they did not let go completely. Together they turned toward the path that led back to the house. Their boots traced a second set of lines over the curves of their dance, weaving a gentle pattern through the snow. The lanterns watched them go, their flames bowing slightly in the cold air. Snow continued to fall, covering the footprints behind them, smoothing the garden back into an untouched dream. At the back door, they brushed the snow from their coats and stepped inside. The house greeted them with quiet warmth. The air smelled faintly of wood and tea leaves and something sweet like vanilla resting in the cupboards. Jonas set the music box on the table. Layla reached for the kettle and clicked on the stove. Soon, a soft hum filled the kitchen as the water began to heat, rising gently toward a boil. They moved around each other in the calm, practiced way of people who know each other's rhythms. Cups were set out, tea leaves scooped, a small honey jar placed between them. Steam rose in thin wisps as the hot water poured into the teapot, the leaves swirling before they slowly settled. They did not need many words. The silence between them was soft, like a blanket. Later, they would sit together in the small living room, wrapped in warm blankets, hands curled around their mugs, watching the snow fall past the window. Their bodies would grow heavier with comfortable tiredness. Their eyes would grow slow and fond. The winter night would cradle the house in its quiet arms. In time, they would blow out the lamps, climb the stairs, and let sleep fold around them as gently as snow, landing on the garden path. Outside, the winter garden would remain awake just a little longer. The lanterns would burn low, their flames growing smaller and softer, their light thinning across the snow. One by one, the candles would dim and go out, leaving behind only the pale glow of the sky and the faint reflection of starlight on the frost. The garden paths would hold the memory of their dance in the faintest press of snow, in the slight curve of footsteps. Soon, even these traces would be covered as the snowfall continued. But the garden would remember. It remembered every winter, every quiet evening, every slow dance beneath its branches. And perhaps, in some gentle way, the garden's memory and the couple's memory were the same thing. A soft, glowing impression that lingered at the edge of waking and sleeping. The night deepened. The town around them settled into its own stillness. Inside the house upstairs, Alara and Jonas lay side by side, their breaths slow and easy. At the edges of their dreams, the winter garden waited, a place they could return to whenever they wished, simply by closing their eyes and remembering the feel of snow underfoot and music in the air. The winter garden itself seemed to breathe. The branches, bare and delicate, were still, but the slightest motion of the wind made it seem as though they swayed in a ghost of the dance. The hedges and sleeping rose bushes stood in patient grace, their shapes softened under the white. The stone bench kept watch. The small arch in the center of the garden held the memory of two figures, turning slowly under its curve. Snow continued to fall, softer now as though the sky had grown drowsy. Each flake drifted with unhurried patience, choosing its place on a branch or hedge or path, settling there and coming to rest. The world grew even quieter, as though it too were slipping into sleep. In this stillness, the memory of the music box lingered, the gentle rise and fall of its melody, the way it had opened a doorway to calm, to connection, to peace. Though the box was closed and the key unwound, its song lived on in the silence, woven into the winter air. This night, in the small house and the garden behind it, there was nothing that needed to be done. No stories that needed to be finished, no tasks waiting with sharp edges. There was only rest. Rest for the garden wrapped in snow. Rest for the lanterns their work done. Rest for the couple, safe and warm in their bed. Faraway stars trace their own slow dance across the sky, but even they seemed content to move more lightly, more gently, as if not to disturb the sleeping world below. If someone were to pass by the house in the middle of the night, they might see only a soft outline against the snow, a still roof, a dark line of wall, a faint suggestion of garden beyond. They would hear nothing but the muffled whisper of snowflakes meeting the ground. They would not know about the music box or the lanterns or the slow dancing in the winter garden. But the night would know. The night would keep this memory as it keeps so many quiet, tender moments, folding it into its own deep silence, returning it like a dream to those who need it. And so the winter garden rests, and the house rests, and the hearts within it rest. Breath by breath, the world grows softer. The snow falls, the garden sleeps, the couple sleeps, and somewhere in that gentle space between waking and dreaming, the music of the slow dance begins again, not in the ears, but in the heart, a quiet turning, a calm swaying, a feeling of being held and holding, safe and unhurried. The steps are so small they barely exist. The rhythm is so gentle it feels like breathing. The world is so still that every tiny sound is a lullaby. Here you may imagine yourself stepping back into that garden whenever you wish. You may feel the snow beneath your feet, the lantern light on your skin, the calm weight of a caring presence at your side. You may sway with the silent music, slow and easy, until even the act of imagining becomes too much effort and you simply rest. There is nothing asked of you, nothing required, only this softness, only this peace. Let your own breathing become the music now. Slow, steady, calm. Inhale gently, as if drawing in cool night air. Exhale slowly, as if releasing snowflakes into the dark. With each breath, let your body sink a little deeper into the surface beneath you. Feel the weight of your limbs. Feel the gentle heaviness in your eyelids. Feel how the thoughts of the day grow distant like lights seen through falling snow. The winter garden is quiet. The music box is resting. You are safe. You are held. Allow sleep to drift towards you like soft snow on a still night. You do not need to reach for it. You only need to let it arrive in its own time, in its own gentle way. The night is here to keep you. The story has done its work. Now let go. Sink into the warm, deep dark behind your eyes. Float on the slow, steady rhythm of your own breath. Good night, dear traveler. Sleep well.